Ranking the greatest matches in WWE history is like reaching into the heart of wrestling's wildest, most powerful moments and trying to measure magic. Because that's what these battles were, magic. Not just punches and pins, not just near falls and title changes. These were wars that lived in our blood. That shaped generations. That turned names into legends and arenas into shrines. From the smoky haze of the early WrestleMania years to the modern era of pyro, chants, and viral GIFs, WWE has been a coliseum for stories told in sweat and fire. Pay-per-view after pay-per-view. Year after year. And among them, some matches didn't just stand out. They stood above. There are matches that made you leap from your seat. Matches that made you cry. Matches that made you believe, in redemption, in fury, in brotherhood, in betrayal. That's what's being ranked here. Not just great wrestling, but unforgettable moments. Entertainment, quality, significance. Those are the three pillars. And atop those pillars, 20 titans. We begin not at the bottom, but in a throne room of greatness. Let's talk about the match that redefined pain. The match that became the symbol of the Attitude Era's chaos. A moment so infamous, it still gets shown every time someone asks, is wrestling real? Mankind vs. The Undertaker. Hell in a Cell, 1998. You don't forget a man being thrown off the top of a steel structure. You don't forget the sound. You don't forget the silence that followed. And you sure don't forget Mick Foley, getting up. He wasn't supposed to. He wasn't meant to. But he did. And when he stood again, The Undertaker didn't hesitate. He lifted him, broken, groggy, barely alive, and chokeslammed him through the roof of the cell. It wasn't just a bump. It was a transformation. Mankind didn't just lose that match, he transcended it. He became immortal. It wasn't about five-star technique. It wasn't about reversals and arm drags. It was about something far more primal. Sacrifice, grit, theater, myth. And that's why it's in this conversation. Because the best WWE matches aren't just athletic showcases. They're stories. And every story in this list told something real, even if the canvas was scripted. Shawn Michaels vs. The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. A dance of light and shadow. The Heartbreak Kid defying the Reaper. Two icons, at the peak of their powers, weaving a narrative so sharp, it left fans breathless. Kickouts that broke logic. Emotion that broke hearts. A match that felt like the end of time itself. Or how about Bret Hart vs. Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. The match where the torch wasn't passed, it was ripped away. Austin, blood pouring down his face, locked in the sharpshooter, refusing to tap. Gritting his teeth, screaming through crimson, and in that moment, the crowd turned. Hart became the villain. Austin, the rebel. The era, forever changed. Then there's the technical masterpiece. Kurt Angle vs. Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. Art in motion. A symphony of counters, submissions, and storytelling. Every second mattered. Every near fall felt like a gunshot. And speaking of epics, what about CM Punk vs. John Cena at Money in the Bank 2011? A crowd molten with energy. A champion walking into his hometown ready to blow it all up. The stakes were as real as they've ever been. Punk was leaving with the title, or so he said. And when he won, he blew a kiss to Vince McMahon and walked out of WWE history. The line between fiction and fact. Gone. Some matches earned their spot by legacy. Hulk Hogan vs. The Rock at WrestleMania 18. Not the smoothest match. But the moment those two icons stood toe-to-toe, the roof nearly came off. The crowd decided who the hero was. Hogan, once booed, was reborn. Others earned it by pure brutality. Triple H vs. Cactus Jack at Royal Rumble 2000. A street fight soaked in sweat, tax, and madness. Foley gave everything, and in losing, made Triple H a legend. There's romance, too. Macho Man Randy Savage vs. Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. So tight, so fluid, so ahead of its time. A ballet of war. A match studied by generations of wrestlers. Edge and Christian vs. The Hardy Boys vs. The Dudleys in TLC 2. A car crash of innovation. Bodies flying, tables breaking, ladders shattering. A match that said, yes, we're crazy. And yes, we mean it. What about the Iron Man match? Bret Hart vs. Shawn Michaels. WrestleMania 12. 60 minutes. No falls. Just pure wrestling. And then, overtime. Michaels hits sweet chin music. The boyhood dream comes true. And sometimes, it's about revenge. Sasha Banks vs. Bayley in NXT TakeOver, Brooklyn. A showcase of everything right with women's wrestling. Emotion, rivalry, respect, pain, or the emotion of Eddie Guerrero vs. Rey Mysterio. Brothers in arms. Betrayal, jealousy, heart. Moves so quick they blurred. Souls so deep they hurt. Roman Reigns vs. Jey Uso. Clash of Champions 2020. Not a match, but a statement. Tribal warfare. Family torn apart. Roman rising as the final boss of storytelling. Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. A night of 2 matches. Against Triple H. Then a triple threat. He fought the machine and won. That crowd, those chants, it was history begging to be written. There's so many more. Cena vs. AJ Styles. Raw emotion and clean wrestling. Becky Lynch vs. Charlotte Flair vs. Ronda Rousey. Women closing WrestleMania. Undertaker vs. Batista. WrestleMania 23. Power and pacing, perfectly executed. Chris Jericho vs. Shawn Michaels. WrestleMania 19. Pride, skill, story. The Shield vs. The Wyatt family. 6 men, 1 war. Pure chaos. Even newer classics, Gunther vs. Sheamus. Clash at the Castle. Chops that echoed across the globe. And every single one of them. A chapter in WWE's legacy. This isn't just a ranking. It's a celebration. Of pain endured. Of stories told.